Well, it seems like some fellow leftist content creators are facing backlash for a variety of reasons, oddly all at the same time. So I decided it was important for me to swoop in and defend them all, since one, of course, I would do that, seeing as how these are my people, and I've also been attacked for similar reasons. And two, because I actually do think that there are important takeaways from all of these individual incidents. So let's start with Kyle Kulinski first, host of Secular Talk, who set off a firestorm over the weekend for doing what he does best: shitposting. So on Halloween, he shared the Spirit Halloween costume meme featuring the late Charlie Kirk's wife, calling it the fake grieving widow grifter costume, including fake teardrops and skin-tight black leather morning pants. And it didn't go over too well for obvious reasons. The New York Post published an article titled "Left-Wing Podcaster Sparks Outrage with Meme Depicting Erica Kirk as Fake Grieving Widow Grifter." The Mirror writes, "Podcaster sparks outrage over Erica Kirk Halloween costume meme. A meme shared by a left-wing podcaster has sparked a storm of reactions online, leaving many questioning the boundaries of satire and taste." And the Daily Mail, among other outlets, also reported on his tweet, writing, "Furious podcaster posts meme calling Erica Kirk a fake grieving widow grifter." Republican Senator Mike Lee even joined the chorus of pearl clutchers, saying, "How would the media respond to this post had Charlie Kirk been a Democrat?" I would imagine that they wouldn't talk about it at all. But that's just a couple of examples of the outrage that Kyle's tweet sparked, and we would be here all fucking day if we went through all of them. But I'm assuming that all of the triggered Republicans who are trying to cancel Kyle don't know that he actually earned lifelong immunity from cancellation on Twitter because of a tweet that he wrote about Nancy Mace back on December 10th of last year, where he astutely points out, "That's a lot of beans, you nasty ass bitch." And I don't know if people know this yet, but if you put out an all-timer like that, you're literally allowed to tweet whatever you want going forward forever. Those are the rules. I don't make them. I just abide by them. But in response to the backlash, Kyle responded by doing the exact thing that you are required to do in moments like this, by doubling down. For example, he responded to Mike Lee saying, "Shut your snowflake bitch ass up. Edgy jokes are fine for you, but not for leftists. Based Mike Lee votes for endless war and stealing healthcare from 17 million people, but I'm the problem? Fuck you. Retire, you cunt." And he shared a screenshot of the joke that Mike Lee made in the aftermath of Melissa Hortman's assassination. Kyle also went back to shitposting immediately, sharing this AI-generated image of Erica Kirk and JD Vance getting married, which is a reference to the original discourse that Kyle was joining in on with his Halloween meme in the first place, where people were talking about Erica Kirk and JD Vance's intimate hug and bizarre comments that they both made. For one, she said, "No one will ever replace my husband, but I do see some similarities of my husband in JD, in Vice President JD Vance. I do." And to make matters even more weird, JD Vance made a disparaging remark about his own wife, saying that he hoped that she dropped the Hinduism and converted to Christianity. So, of course, the internet started to speculate about whether or not he was emotionally cheating on his wife with Erica in the aftermath of suspicious comments that both of them had made. It led to a lot of online shitposting that Kyle himself participated in. But it's not the first time that Kyle had tweets that got him embroiled in controversy, and I can assure you, it's definitely not going to be the last. And to that I say, good. Go off, King. Talk that shit. Those of us in this space on the left have had to develop very thick skin in order to survive in online spaces that have been very hostile towards us at certain times, which is why we've become somewhat immune to the right's pearl clutching and tone policing. And that explains why the barrage of denunciations and death threats don't scare us into backing down. And I've been in Kyle's predicament before myself. In fact, back in 2022, J.K. Rowling put me on blast for calling out her transphobia in an impolite way, we'll say. And in 2024, I made my infamous "fuck his family too" tweet in response to collective outrage about jokes made about United Health CEO Brian Thompson's assassination. Conservative commentators like Anna Kasparian tried to use my shitpost as an example of the left's supposed lack of concern for working class victims of violent crime, which is a total non sequitur, by the way. But I doubled down and explained that the people condemning me were hypocrites, seeing as how the slain CEO that they were defending never had any regard for the families of his victims who died because they didn't get the health care that they needed. Did I receive death threats and denunciations? Of course I did. Did I care? Absolutely not. Because we are in an era where being offensive and crass is the only way leftists can break the hold that right-wingers have on our political discourse. The days of when they go low, we go high are long gone. And our survival as a political bloc hinges on our ability to match the right's energy. This is something that the left has learned that Democrats seemingly have not learned. And in a recent video, Kyle actually made a really salient point about this topic, where he talks about the political climate that conservatives are now denouncing.
Charlie Kirk is horrible?
Yes, I'm glad he's not here.
You're glad he's dead?
Yes.
Why would you say something like that, ma'am?
Because he was horrible on the campuses, the college campuses. Horrible person.
You know what? I do the exact same thing.
Well,
would you be glad if I would die?
Maybe. I'd have to think about it.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
Your friend just said she'd be happy if I died.
Let me explain something to you guys. These are women who, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, they were watching Ellen DeGeneres on daytime TV. These are grandmas who pick their kids up from soccer practice, who make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the morning. And look at how they're talking. Look, what I want to say to the right is, you had your chance, right? Like, it was Michelle Obama, the first lady, who very famously came out and said, when they go low, we go high. And that was the fucking mantra of the Democratic Party. We could not have ended up in this place if Republicans didn't double down, triple down, quadruple down, quintuple down, over and over and over in saying, we don't believe in compromise. We don't believe in negotiation. We don't believe in diplomacy. We don't believe in bipartisanship. We don't believe in good faith discussions and conversations. It 100% is on the right. And this is the impact of Trump. The other thing is, what is Trump known for? Trump's known for, I never fucking apologize. I never apologize. Fuck you. Fuck your feelings. I'm a bull in a china shop. I say what I want. I have no fucking filter. It is what it is. Deal with it, you stupid lib. Go ahead. You want to cry about it? Go ahead and cry about it. Well, now, all those qualities and characteristics, liberals and leftists finally realized, okay, in order to fucking play by the same rules, we got to be like that now.
And he is 1,000% correct. I mean, just personally speaking, the levels of normie lib radicalization that I've seen are off the charts. And even if you go back and look at Humanist Report videos that I was putting out like 10 years ago, I was sending well wishes to Scalia's family after he passed away. I was correcting myself when I said that I hated Republicans. I think I said that was too strong of a word and I didn't want to be divisive. But as you can see, I've become a little bit rougher around the edges. And that's because times have changed and I've had to adapt. And you either adapt or you die. We're all products of our environment, and we're pissed off right now. And winning back the country necessitates the total humiliation of the people who got us where we are in the first place. That means we kind of have to ruthlessly mock them at every chance we get in order to condition the rest of the society to view them with the contempt that they deserve. Like, I would much rather talk about policy and the things that I want to do to improve the country. But Republicans proved that delegitimizing opponents is something that you have to do to win the game of politics. Like, we're playing a game that they forced us to play based on the new rules that they set. Like, we didn't ask for this. None of us asked for this. But they're the OG fuck your feelings people, and they've proven that that's a pretty good strategy. They're demonstrating the effectiveness of that strategy now with their meltdowns over Kyle Kalinski's tweet. Like, they don't like getting a taste of their own medicine, and that just proves why we have to give them a taste of their own medicine. We have to force them to lie in the bed that they made for all of us. And it's not just internet edgelords like Kyle from Secular Talk and Mike from the Humanist Report saying things like this. It's also respected elected officials like AOC who called on people to ruthlessly mock fascists like Stephen Miller because, like us, she also realizes the futility in trying to engage with them in 2010 era style politics of persuasion and respectability. It just doesn't work. But I want to move on to the next leftist content creator who is facing additional scrutiny as of late. And that individual is Hasan Piker, because he's always in hot water for something. And no, I'm not going to respond to cynical and bad faith claims that he used the shock collar on his dog when he did not do that. I want to talk about how billionaires are using Zohran Mamdani's association with Hasan Piker as a gotcha in service of Andrew Cuomo. Now, you already know that Andrew Cuomo name-dropped Piker at a debate, but in a last-ditch effort to tank Mamdani's campaign, they're now trying to tie him to the most controversial comment that Piker made 6 years ago in a new ad. And when I say ad, I mean like they actually put out an ad tying Mamdani to Hasan Piker. This is wild to watch, but nonetheless, take a look.
America deserved 9/11, dude.
That's Zohran's buddy, Hasan Piker, saying we deserve 9/11. It's a disgrace to every life lost. Zohran went on Piker's show, and now Piker was just spotted at Zohran's event. Mamdani is wrong for New York. Paid for by 4R City.
Jesus Christ. So they're basically trotting out the same playbook that they used back in 2008 to tie Obama to Reverend Wright. It didn't work then, and I can assure you it's not going to work now, especially because you can easily do the same thing. Like, you can use that same playbook against Cuomo, albeit to greater effect. For example, Cuomo was just on Logan Paul's podcast, who's been embroiled in multiple controversies, and was even sued in a class action lawsuit for an alleged crypto scam. But worse, Cuomo joined genocide heir Benjamin Netanyahu's legal team to defend him against crimes against humanity at the ICC. So, objectively speaking, what's worse? Defending a war criminal accused of genocide, or being a guest on the stream of somebody who made edgy comments? I mean, I think that voters are going to be the ultimate judge in the end, but this strategy simply doesn't work in 2025 because politicians are increasingly learning that there is value in going on podcasts and Twitch streams. But if you want access to their platforms, you have to put aside the edgy jokes and controversies that they've been embroiled in. It's something that Cuomo understood by choosing himself to go on Logan Paul's podcast. Quite a controversial figure, but ironically, it was more controversial for Logan Paul to platform Cuomo than it was for Cuomo to go on his show, seeing as how Cuomo is a serial sexual harasser whose policies killed people in nursing homes during COVID. So, I mean, any of Logan Paul's scandals pale in comparison to Cuomo's scandals. But to go back to Hasan Piker, he's the first leftist content creator to achieve real mainstream success. You can argue that his uncle Cenk Uygur was the first one, but I mean, Hasan has reached new levels. And savvy Democratic politicians, they have to understand that his platform may be more useful in reaching young people than any other platform. Mainstream media, you name it. Like, Hasan Piker is how you talk to young, motivated leftists who are politically active. And for what it's worth, Hasan's response to that controversy that the ad was based on speaks to how thoughtful he is as a person and why people watch him, because even though it's easy to be turned off by what he said at face value, it's important to understand what he was talking about in the context and what happened in the lead up to that infamous clip. And I'm going to let him speak for himself because what he says here is important.
You said America deserved 9/11. Did you mean that?
No, obviously not, especially considering the fact that while that is a very viral quote that is going around currently, if those people were at least even remotely charitable or cared about the actual truth of what I was talking about, they would understand that within context, I was simply referencing the fact that all of the foreign policy decisions and our arming of insurgent groups in the region and our efforts in destabilizing the Middle East have a direct consequence, a boomerang effect rather, if you will, in causing 9/11. Of course, every part of what I advocate for is against violence. I abhor violence. I think it's awful. And as a matter of fact, I was very frustrated with the fact that Dan Crenshaw, a person who 4 times voted nay on bills that would stop arming Saudi Arabia. He voted no 4 times on those bills. It would turn around and talk about the necessity for endless violence, and that this simply was happening because these people. This simply was happening because these people just hated us. They hated us because they hate us. I'm paraphrasing, but I thought that was awful. I thought that was horrific. Hillary Clinton has had a similar and correct opinion on this, talking about how we did fund Al-Qaeda and Noam Chomsky and numerous other academics on both sides of the political spectrum. I should have used more precise and better use of the language there. It's messed up that I would even give the opportunity to the right to try to morally grandstand on an issue like this when they are 100% responsible for all of the bloodshed that has been caused. Even some other outlets in the mainstream media are also culpable in this circumstance. Look, 3,000 people died. And that's terrible. That is a horrific event.
Listen, cards on the table, I admit it is very hard for me to put aside my biases here because I deeply respect and admire all of these leftist content creators that I share a space with. But the left's entire political project is to end wars and suffering, improve the quality of life for all human beings. So to me, bias aside, it rings hollow that the people who are perpetrating violence are so pissed off about edgy rhetoric from the left. Because, like, what's worse, words or actions? Hasan Piker said America deserved 9/11, whereas Netanyahu has committed dozens of 9/11s himself on the people of Gaza. Kyle Kulinski may have poked fun at Charlie Kirk's widow, but Trump has illegally murdered 61 people he accused of drug trafficking without evidence, mind you. So if you support those murders and those people, if you're okay with a literal genocide, I'm sorry, you don't get to fucking feign outrage over naughty words from leftist content creators, period. Edgy jokes and shitposts aside though, leftists like Hassan and Kyle, they have consistent records advocating for policies that would save lives. And I think that matters more than the times that they've memed a little bit too close to the sun, if you ask me. But I do want to move on to Emma Vigeland, who dealt with backlash, although to a much lesser extent. But I still want to play the clip of her on a panel on MSNBC because the smug condescension that the left has been facing for a long time now was on full display. And they reacted this way in response to her correct commentary. And, you know, it's why people like myself in this space are so pissed off nonetheless. Here's what she said and how they responded.
Ezra Klein recently wrote for the New York Times that over the past 15 years, the Democratic Party has made room on its left and closed down on its right. For all the talk of what the Democratic Party should learn from Bernie Sanders and Zohran Mamdani, there should be at least as much talk of what they should learn from Manchin or Golden or Marie Perez or Sarah McBride. The party should be seeking more, not less, internal disagreement. Do you agree with that stance?
No. I don't know what reality Ezra Klein is living in. That the fact that the Democratic Party has tacked to its left in what universe? Yeah. The coalescing around Joe Biden in the 2020 primary, the besmirching of Bernie Sanders supporters, the eschewing of that movement in 2016, and even in this current moment with Zohran Mamdani, who has been a shot in the arm for the Democratic Party, you still have Chuck Schumer refusing to endorse him, and Hakeem Jeffries' endorsement is lukewarm at best. There is a fight right now within the Democratic Party, and Ezra Klein is representing a floundering corporatist centrist flank that is increasingly irrelevant in the party, and he's trying to carry water for them in the Times. I mean, I think it's a lucrative thing to do, but it's not necessarily matching the reality.
I love it. I'm so excited to disagree with you. I do, because I could not disagree more. The point Ezra's trying to make is that it takes two wings to fly. That he's trying to say Democrats need to build a Big Ten. And he's not saying you got to choose between Zohran Mamdani and Bernie Sanders and the centrist wing. He's saying Democrats need to compete in more places. You raised a stat earlier that I think is the key one. Why, when Donald Trump's numbers are plummeting among independent voters, he's got 48% strong disapproval. How come the Democratic Party's approval rating is lower as a brand
because
than
of the muddled message that I was just trying to elucidate?
So you believe it's because they're not far left enough?
No, I believe that there needs to be a different approach to politics here. Not building a tent and saying we don't necessarily stand for anything, including Ezra advocating for saying that we should run anti-abortion Democrats in red states. So let's throw trans people under the bus. Let's throw women under the bus. Let's just do anything except reorienting
territory, though.
No,
I think he's talking about being practical, and trying
to expand the map. That's what needs to happen here. Is if Democrats are how do you expand the map? Is you win in Ohio and you win in Pennsylvania and you win in West Virginia.
There's more, but I want to pause right there because that really pissed me off. The reaction to Emma Vigeland being there, the smug, indignant response to what she said, the laughter to her commentary as if what she was saying was preposterous. I mean, this is why we cannot stand you people, right? What Emma is saying here is common sense, and it's what we've all been saying on the left for more than a decade now. And if you don't see what she's saying as the obvious truth, then I don't know what to tell you. You just don't want to win, right? You can't win elections by shifting to the right. Republicans have a monopoly on right-wing and center-right voters. You cannot beat fascism with more milquetoast centrism. You need an equally radical alternative to compete with the so-called populism that's being pushed by the right. Socialism is the antidote to fascism, not neoliberalism, to the chagrin of all of the dipshits on the panel there. And the rising prominence of left-wing commentators like Emma Vigeland is the result of centrist Democrats who actually want to win getting desperate enough to finally hear us out. Because, we've been pitching some alternative strategies and nobody's been listening. But now that we have a fascist in charge and we lost democracy, maybe you start to listen to the people who were once viewed as kooky, right? But as you saw, they became indignant at the common sense recommendations that Emma was making, even though what she's saying is being confirmed by reality as we speak. I mean, look at Claudia Sheinbaum in Mexico. Look at Lula da Silva in Brazil. Look at FDR's New Deal reforms. You have to meaningfully address people's material conditions in order to win elections. But I do want to get back to the discussion before I go, too in the weeds here, because they're going to make the same tired Big Tent argument that we've heard 100 times, only to get smacked down again by Emma Vigeland. So let's watch.
As much as Democrats hate Joe Manchin, he was the only Democrat who could win statewide office in Manchin.
I'm sorry, but Joe Manchin helped kill the child tax credit, which is the reason the Democrats are lagging behind in affordability right now.
But would it have been better if there were a Republican in that seat?
If the Democrats want to orient themselves behind a working class coalition and use that as the base, that is how you build a durable coalition, not the one that has lost to Trump multiple times.
But if you look at the track record of like Sunrise and Justice Dems and these other, more populist progressive groups,
the base wasn't there. Now the base is there. The base is currently behind it.
They have not gained a single seat
because of the institutional pushback from the Democratic Party. And
because
right now
of the voters.
The voters are part of
it. I do, to Emma's point, I do think that there is, when you're just looking top down from the most powerful figures in the Democratic Party establishment, there is a pattern of them being much more accepting of the rightward flank than the left side of the flank.
Look, there's been a long struggle over, go back to 1977, I'll just go nerd out, Moynihan versus Bella Abzug. There are deep divisions inside the Democratic Party that get played out. There are good principled fights over policy. Those are legitimate fights and disagreements. And for a lot of folks, a member of the DSA who's never held a job or never had an executive experience.
Assemblyman's a job.
Not a job in the private sector. You're right.
I don't care about that, though. He has had a job.
That's the problem.
Right.
It's worth caring about whether someone's ever had a job in the private sector. It's worth caring about whether they've had an executive experience.
No, it's not. Voters in New York rejected Cuomo's experience from Mamdani's policies. In 2016, Americans literally chose to elect a reality TV show star over Hillary Clinton, who was the most qualified presidential candidate ever. What you're saying is bullshit. You can't wish cast the strategy on the electorate and hope that it works, especially when it's been proven wrong again and again and again. Now, as for that lady's, point about Joe Manchin, she doesn't understand that Democrats like Joe Manchin tarnish the party's brand. If his policies are indistinguishable from the GOP's policies, then it doesn't really matter if he has a D next to his name now, does it? I mean, sure, he helped Chuck Schumer maintain the gavel in the Senate, but them not doing enough with that power led to Americans feeling disillusioned with the party again. And think about whether or not Republican voters would ever accept the same strategy or excuse. Do you think Donald Trump would be okay with a Republican being pro-choice or pro-Medicare for all in order to become more electorally viable in California? That would never, ever fly. They would rather lose than let rhinos tarnish their brand because they understand the importance of ideological cohesion and consistency. I mean, imagine how easy it'd be if all Democrats just supported one policy on healthcare. Medicare for all. It's an easy pitch, right? You vote for Democrats, you get Medicare for all. You save 68,000 lives every single year. The problem is that we can't do that. We can't make that pitch because if somebody asks, hey, what's the party's stance on healthcare? You've got to explain how, well, some supported additional ACA subsidies while others believe in a public option that could devolve into a two-tiered system where the rich and the poor have different standards of care. Although, some support Medicare for all, which is healthcare that's free at the point of service. You can't do that. It's not going to work. If you have to explain the internal division within your party to the average voter, you're going to be a lot less persuasive than you would if you just said Democrats support Medicare for all, period. Here's what that means. But we can't do that. We can't do that because so many Democrats refuse to unlatch from the teats of the health insurance donors that got them elected. So we're held back by the most bought-off dipshits in the party who are trying to pass off their corruption as sound strategy. But nobody's buying it anymore. Hence why leftist content creators like Emma are suddenly sounding a lot more reasonable to MSNBC's normie audience than they were before. It's why former MSNBC hosts like Joy Reid agree with us, even though she was once a sworn enemy to the online left and the Bernie bros, because everything that we've been saying has been proven. It's been validated, whereas everything that the centrists said that would work has put us on a one-way path towards fascism, and here we are. But as frustrating as things are right now, the one silver lining is that, people like Emma and Hassan and Kyle and myself to a lesser extent are finally gaining prominence in American politics because everybody else has been so goddamn wrong. Where politicians and pundits are now asking us for our input. And that's a new thing, right? And it's unfortunate that things had to get so bad for them to finally take us seriously. But the fact that we're now making our way into mainstream media and even driving news cycles tells me that enough people have finally had their break glass in case of emergency moment, with us being the ones being kept behind glass. And, they're finally letting us out in hopes that we can save the country now that we're in this emergency. So the increased scrutiny that we're all suddenly receiving speaks to our growing relevance in American politics, which is bad news for fascists because unlike centrists that they're used to, we don't fucking back down. We double down. And I can assure you that we're not going to stop talking our shit. So I commend all of the individuals that I talked about here for pissing off Republicans, because if you're doing that, then you're doing something right. And I get that that's a cliche, but when you have people as demonic as Republicans, no, you really are doing something right if you piss them off.
Luigi not happy.